Hello, this is Chris Cooper, and a big welcome to the Business Elevation Show. It's great to be back with you again for yet another week, and we're going to talk about a very exciting and inspiring journey today. I'm joined by some incredible folk who we've just spent some wonderful time together in Kenya, and we're going to talk about an experience that we've just had supporting our good friend and Elevation Collective member, Molly Bedingfield, who has an incredible charity called Global Angels. And some of us from the Elevation Collective community went out to visit Molly and had a very, very inspiring, moving, thought-provoking, bonding experience. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to share a little bit about that and some of the wisdom, the insights, the perspectives that came from this fabulous journey. So Molly's here, and but also so Molly's the founder of Global Angels, a very inspiring leader. Elisabet Vinberg Hearn. Elisabet is an author and a speaker and a leadership expert and a multiple author. Tessa White. Elisabet's from Sweden originally. Tessa is from the United States. She's in Utah, and she is the job doctor. And she is an absolute expert when it comes to career success. And we have Hilary from the UK. Hilary is an amazing coach, and at one stage had worked with 65 of the FTSE 100 companies at senior levels, coaching and supporting them. So she's a fellow Brit like me. And Molly's actually from New Zealand originally, so a really international cohort today. So let me tell you just a little bit about Global Angels and a little bit about this venture, because Global Angels are an amazing charity. We've been out to Kenya to support them. We lived in some remarkable earth and lime eco domes that have been created by Molly and her team. We learned about regenerative farming on a 26-acre permaculture farm, and we witnessed some of the challenges and the hopes and the real, well, in some cases, deprivation that people feel when they don't have clean water in their homes, they're without plumbing. We met children who relied on Global Angels for school meals, and we saw firsthand the transformative power of sustainable development. It was really heart-moving, it really was. And we've got some great stories, I think, to share as well about some of the little moments that really kind of touched our hearts, seeing people carrying water in broken buckets from dirty ponds. Really, really humbling. And we also want to talk about this concept because of being an angel. Molly is here. She founded Global Angels, and she believes that everybody can become an angel, whether that's through donations, whether it's through corporate involvement, whether it's through volunteering. You can support and help people with clean water, food, education, jobs, and of course, dignity. So a big welcome to everybody who's joined us today on the on this interview, and also to Elisabet, Molly, Tessa, and Hilary. So welcome, everybody. So Molly, I'm going to start with you. I wonder if you could maybe share a little bit about the vision behind Global Angels and this incredible Tsavo project, which has become such an important focus for your foundation.
Yeah, hi Chris. Hi everyone. Yes, Global Angels. When I started Global Angels 20 years ago, the passion that I had was to build the movement of people all around the planet who had a passion for doing good, to make a difference, and who are actually to give them an opportunity and encouragement to step up, be an angel, and actually build that whole movement of people who could donate their time, their skills, whatever just to make it easy. And the other thing that my passion was that I found out that a lot of funds don't go on the ground with charities. And I thought, gosh, if people find out about how little can get on the ground with lots of charities, they're going to be a bit shocked and they're going to want to stop giving. So what I did is I set the charity up with 100% promise, was that every single penny that the public gives to Global Angels would go on the ground to a tangible item you could touch and see. So then as we developed the charity, we I decided to focus on the Tsavo region, primarily because people were walking 15 miles a day to try to get safe drinking water that wasn't safe. They were getting water out of the same water to drink, out of the same water that cows and goats were weeing and pooing in. And I was so horrified. I was like, we have to do something there. And then as time went by, I realized this was a place where we could set up a model of transformation that people from all over the world could come and visit and see and touch and feel. Companies who funded us or supported us and sponsored in some way could send out some of their team to come and visit and help us build on the ground what's happening, and that it would become a model of how do you transform a community. So that's how I started, and that's kind of what's happening now. It's very exciting.
It's amazing. And you were backwards and forwards to Kenya, aren't you? Multiple times a year, really, which is incredible. I think all of us in the Elevation Collective community, I don't think we appreciated just how significant a venture this was, and I certainly hadn't appreciated with your 26 acres how much development and thinking and work and that you've been doing. It was really, really inspiring. One of the things that we did obviously was really amazing to us as well was these eco domes that you've created. And I wonder, Tessa, maybe you can tell us a little bit from your perspective about these eco domes, and what was it like living in one, and how did it shape your connection to the project? And we'll find out a bit more in a moment as well about how they're made and why they're so significant. But what was your experience, Tessa?
Well, it was one of the most unexpected and unbelievable things that I've seen. If to give context, we were driving through a very humble village with shacks and lean-tos and very, very simple homes made of mud bricks. And there wasn't a lot of modern conveniences in the village. And all of a sudden we look on the mountain, and amongst all of the lack of color, all of a sudden there's these beautiful domes that you see. They're so much bigger than I expected. So amazing, built into the mountain with beautiful landscaping around them. And then when we got there, upon closer look, I mean, these are amazing. I think I expected to see maybe a small little dome with a bed in the middle of the floor, but what I found was something technologically just incredible. One of the domes, for example, had 150 different vents put in, little round vents, so that there could be natural air conditioning without needing power. And there was a beautiful skylight in the top of the dome. And each dome had a bedroom area, a bathroom area, places to put things. And in the larger domes, a second story. I mean, these were some of the most beautiful natural domes that I could have ever imagined being in. And it was such a feat to witness, and it just took, I think, all of our breaths away when we realized what had been built versus what we thought an eco dome would look like.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the person, Rachel's, who's not with us, one of her daughters, when I asked her at the airport what she thought she was staying in, she thought she was staying in some kind of a mud hut. And you look at these vehicles, so look at these domes, and they could be on the front cover of Condé Nast. They were so impressive. Molly, tell us a little bit about the domes, and how were they made, and why domes?
Yeah, so when you studied this, the design of a dome, the dome holds itself together in such a powerful way that even if you had a tornado or a huge wind, nothing's going to knock that dome down. It's built also on a foundation of little tiny stones rather than concrete. So when there's an earthquake, the dome still stays. And then we build it with long bags, and you fill them with earth and lime, and then you bang them down and you make a circle, and then you put another one on and another one, and you go up right to the top. The domes, I'm not sure about feet, but they're like 8 meters wide and about 10 meters tall. So they're not a perfect dome, they're like a cone kind of dome, and they're absolutely stunning. And one of the other things is they are cool when it's very hot outside. They're about 10 degrees less. and when it's cold outside, they're warm. So they keep a stable temperature. So they're very nice for people to live in, and they're not expensive to make. So even the poorest people could live in a dome. So that's why we came up with the idea, and then we've just used local people. The idea is that anybody could build a dome if you have the right one trainer, and everyone, all the families could help, and then you've got a dome for a family. So that's why we went for that, and it's beautiful.
And is this then intended to inspire other people potentially to utilize this as a way of living, maybe for in other parts of the world, possibly? Or
yes, it is designed to be an inspiration. I know that a few refugee camps around the world have started making them because they're cheap and they're very comfortable people to live in. And but people can make all sorts of beautiful ones in countries where it doesn't rain all the time. But in the hotter countries, they're a wonderful idea of how to make a house, which was going to really help us with the housing crisis in the future and in different places, especially deserty areas or arid areas.
yeah. So tell us. We were talking earlier about water, mentioning in the interest about water, and Hilary, we had some experiences, didn't we? We got some really understanding about permaculture from Molly, and we actually got our hands dirty a little bit and did some planting. But one of the things that really still sticks in my mind, and I know it did in yours, was the experience of going to the water hole, seeing lots of cows coming in, doing their business in the water, and then people turned up with buckets. Do you want to share a little bit about what that meant for you and that experience?
Well, Chris, as you rightly said, the first visitors to the water pond were the cows who enjoyed drinking and I think pooing and weeing in the water as they would naturally. And very quickly after the visit of the cows, a family appeared. Now, there were a variety of ages, including a couple of quite small boys, each one carrying a jerry can. And the purpose of the visit to this pond, which looked filthy to my Scottish eyes, the family went up to the water, they filled the jerry cans with water, and the purpose of that water was for cooking, for washing, for drinking. And that just seemed unimaginable to me. And they then left with these very heavy jerry cans filled with this very dirty looking water. And as they walked away, one of the small boys was carrying a jerry can almost as large as he was. And there was quite a significant hole in this jerry can, and the water was leaking out. And there was just something about that. I thought that is desperately sad and also extremely impressive to collect your water like that. And we were then lucky enough to go back to where they lived, which was a tin shack. And the other thing that really touched me was how much clean washing was hanging on a line and draping on tree branches, and the huge effort of doing that amount of washing with the dirty water with no modern conveniences. So it was humbling and inspiring in equal measures.
Yeah, thank you. And Elisabet, I'm going to throw you a curveball here because I just noticed I hadn't introduced you yet. But how did when we were with the family, what do you remember about how they, their attempts to try and clean the water?
Yeah, there was some really interesting. I was intrigued by that actually, because I was thinking, how is it ever going to be possible to use this water, including drinking it? But there was a special kind of stone, and I can't remember what it was made of now, that they were actually, there was something about the chemistry of that stone as they put it into the water and sort of swiveling it around. So after a while, it sort of separated out all the dirt and the silt and everything sort of fell to the bottom, so that there was much cleaner water at the top that they could actually use. So it was quite a sort of, I guess, simple way of cleaning the water, but it also seemed quite effective as such. Obviously not as clean as we would expect it to be, but certainly a lot cleaner. It was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, maybe Molly's saying it was about 90% effective, but it still had typhoid and various other diseases in it. Can you maybe tell us, Molly, a bit about the scale, of the need when it comes to water in the communities that you serve?
Yeah, so in the Tsavo region, it only rains a few months a year, small amounts of rain, and there's no way you can drill boreholes there because the water contains too much sulfate and too much fluoride, so people will die if they drink it. So it's very hard for them to clean it. There's one water pipe that goes through the area, but people can't afford to pay the bills for water, and then it only works sometimes. And then you go to their houses and you see they don't have guttering, so they can't collect rainwater. But if they did, then they'd need a container to hold the rainwater. And when you looked at their houses, everything's broken and small. They're just so poor. They don't even have that, some of them didn't even have proper walls on their houses or a proper roof. It's just so much poverty. Without water, you can't do anything. You can't survive. So the first thing you need in every community is water. And that's the desperateness. You see very old people just trying to get a small container full of water, and you go, how are you guys living? I mean, it's very, very hard there. So providing water is one of the first things that we need to do in that community, and we have been doing.
I think one of the things I learned from you, and correct me if I got the statistics at all wrong, but you mentioned to us that the average income is about $15 a month.
Yes.
And there's quite a significant cost because they do have the ability to be connected up with mains water, don't they? But the cost, did you say it's about $120 or something?
Like between it depends how far their little hut is from the mains, but it's anything between $100 and $1,000.
Wow.
And then most of them don't have the money to pay the bills, so they're living from hand to mouth, literally. And then when you look at their fields, they grow maize or they try to grow crops, but they don't grow very well because the water is so low. So one of the first things we did on our farm, because our farm there was nothing there. There was just a few trees and dirt. So one of the first things we did was built a water pan to collect rainwater. We lined it, and then we started building water tanks out of bricks to contain that water. And so now we've got drip irrigation. So now we're able to do a forest garden. We're allowed to be able to do an orchard, and we're doing all sorts of things that we couldn't do 5 years ago. It's just incredible, the change. And what we are hoping to do is not just model it to the rest of the world, but model to the local community how with a small effort you could work together and heal the land, save the water, help your children. So
yeah. Well, my son Matt, when we did some water carrying of jerry cans, and my son Matt was talking to one of the young guides that you brought along with us, and he was explaining how he used to get up at 3 a.m. and walk 10 kilometers to get water as a child, and then come home in time, getting back in time for school. Tessa, what was your experience of I don't know, I'm not sure how far we walked, but it was probably no more than a couple of kilometers tops with water.
Oh, we were lightweights. I mean, we had the jerry cans on our shoulders, but just sweat dripping down. And we maybe went a few miles of walking, but it was incredibly difficult. And our cans weren't full. And for me, realizing the effort that went into the water, and then when we would stop at the different huts and give the gift of some of our clean water, and no matter how heavy the water was, we didn't want to have to dump any out to lighten our load because we knew it was like liquid gold to these folks. And what really struck me was when we poured some of our clean water into the jerry cans, and I saw clear, fresh water instead of the water the color of mud. And I just thought, oh, what a striking thing for me to see, because I go home and I can open my tap and I can get as much water as I want. And yet this was such a gift. We saved a whole day's journey for people, and brought them water. And I've just taken for granted so much, until you see how people live and how difficult water is to come by.
Yeah. And yet we saw incredible, we'll talk more probably about this in the second half. We saw incredible erosion, didn't we, where water had quickly come off the mountainside. And I was touched. One of the families we first met had explained that they'd lost one of their daughters in a flash flood. So they do. So they do. They do have water, don't they? But when it comes fast and quick.
And they can't save it. And then what they've done when 60 years ago, 40 years ago, they cut all the trees down. So then the soil can't retain moisture. They have their goats eating all the grass that's there, if there is any grass. And then there's nothing. So the water, so when it does rain, the water just comes straight off the hillside and causes flash floods and erosion, terrible erosion, huge gullies very quickly.
Yeah, I think that's one of the surprises for me. I've been to Kenya before, but different areas, and it was a surprise that we traveled by 4 hours by train, and then probably then from Nairobi, and then an hour we stayed at a safari lodge for a bit, but then we spent an hour or so, hour and a half driving from there to your eco village, and another 4 hours. Some of us went on to the Indian Ocean at the end. And we saw trees, but once upon a time these were forests. So 9-10 hours of traveling, and the decimation of woodland is astonishing, really.
And if you plant indigenous trees and you make a sort of a boomerang shape around them, they end up retaining the water and grow really fast because they're used to the climate. And so we're all working to try and plant lots and lots of trees to transform that land.
Yeah, because that was really interesting, because you were digging, whereas in the United Kingdom, for example, you dig a hole, you plant your tree or your bush, you wouldn't dig it, probably 10 inches, 12 deeper, so you plant the tree deeper in a concave shape, because it would fill with water and everything would die. But of course, where water's scarce, it makes sense, doesn't it, to keep what you can in, you describe it as a boomerang.
Yeah. So as the water comes, as it rains, it comes in, and then it stays. Yeah.
And Elisabet, you were really struck by the impact of job creation, because Molly has created a lot of employment in the eco village and really transformed people's lives. Do you want to share your thoughts on?
Absolutely. No, I found that fascinating, and obviously I knew that Molly had a team out there, but when you look at the unemployment rate of young people being between the ages of 15 to 34 is 67% in Kenya. And this makes up 35% of the population as a whole, the young people. And what's going on here, the work that Molly's doing with Global Angels, they've really created opportunities for people to learn a proper skill. So there's about 35 people there working on the farm at the moment, and it's just what they're doing is they're teaching thoughtful and sustainable way to care for nature and people that is absolutely transformative, because they're learning skills, and they're able to not just they're not just doing something just for the sake of it. They're doing it because they're learning how nature works, and how do we get away from the erosion? How do we not just cut away trees? How do we need to protect from when water flows down the mountain? All of these kind of things that are helping them build skills are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, think about how they can take that further. Not only do they, as local people, they have a chance to actually get a job there when it's so hard to get a job, but they're learning something that means they're going to be able to go on and teach other people. And of course, this is at the core of what Global Angel is all about, is really creating something that is sustainable, not just sort of swoop in and swoop out, but actually transforming how people live their lives, and the kind of leadership skills that will continue to impact large areas of the country. It's absolutely phenomenal and really, really, really inspirational. And the people, absolutely incredible. And the chance they have to get certifications and really maintain and have a family. And I mean, it's amazing and really inspiring.
Yeah, excellent. And just in case somebody shares with them, we love meeting and connecting with Jackson and Limac and also Agnes
Oh,
Gibson, we've got really fond memories of a number of the people that we met working with Molly. Who were just so passionate and enthusiastic about what they're doing. It was really inspiring. On that note, we're going to go to commercial break. We'll be back again in just a couple of minutes. So do join us. We've got lots more stories to share about our experiences in Tsavo in Kenya. And we'll find out and share a little bit about how you could get involved and help towards the end of the interview as well. So back again in just a couple of minutes. Do join us after the break. Hello, this is Chris Cooper. We're back again. We're talking about this incredible journey in Tsavo, and I'm with Elisabet Vinberg Hearn and Molly Bedingfield and Tessa White and Hilary. We are part of the Elevation Collective. The Elevation Collective brings exceptional leaders together who care about contributing to delivering more good in the world. And we wanted to find out about Molly's work in Tsavo and Global Angels, hence we decided to visit. And what I want to know now from you, Hilary, is you're known for guiding leaders through transformation, and I wonder what inner shift do you think this kind of immersive experience that we've had, creates in people? Why would it be worth, for example, people bringing out their executives to stay with Molly in one of their domes and experience what we've experienced? What change is possible?
Oh, it absolutely supports transformational change. Taking a team out or a group of entrepreneurs to experience the land, to work in the community, to carry the water, it changes perspective. It really, I think, calls us to look inwardly around where are we contributing and how are we contributing? Could we do that more effectively? It's a brilliant way to build a team because you're doing it in a very different environment to the one you normally operate in. It absolutely hits corporate social responsibility metrics from most organizations. And the other thing I would observe is when you return home, you're returning home with a lot more insight and compassion than when you arrived out there. I just think it's the ideal spot to team build, to develop leaders individually and collectively because of the landscape in all ways.
Yeah. And the lovely thing about Tsavo as well is you can also combine that with people seeing animals. And because what it is very inspiring about the areas that we visited is how conservation, supported by us visiting, really thrives. We saw incredible populations of elephants and zebra and giraffes and had a brilliant experience there too. So you can also support that, which is very at the same time, which is very motivating, I think, for your people to experience that too. Molly, do you want to share with us? I was blown away, to be honest, by the permaculture. I hadn't expected to see what I saw and realize that the knowledge and wisdom that you had acquired about this. The swales that you're building are quite remarkable. The permaculture is quite remarkable. So tell us a little bit about what you're proud of in the way that the land's regenerating and what you've had to do to make this happen and make it a reality.
Yes, so thanks, Chris. 7 years ago, when we first bought our first piece of land, and each successively we bought a little bit more, each piece was literally barren with just a few trees, with huge gullies forming with just water just running off. So what we did is the first thing we built was deep swales, like 3 meters, 3 feet by 3 feet. We built them along the contour of the land, hoping that as the rainwater came down, it would collect in the swales and then gradually go over the next few months, go down the valley, watering plants. Well, anyway, when we first did that, we also built these water pans, and we had the swales collecting water, but also directing it towards the water pan, which would give us water to do drip irrigation, etc. And over that 7 years, suddenly this year, there was no water going in the water pans. And we were like, what's wrong? And what we realized is the soil has changed so much. The trees we've planted, the grasses are covering the hillside, that the water is actually seeping into the soil like you'd really want. We actually are seeing regeneration of soil. And the next thing what's really exciting was how we're going to get water now. And with our domes, they're on the hillside above all the farm. And what we realized, we were able to fill the water pans really quickly, because every time it rained, every little bit of water coming off the domes is collected and taken in drains down to the water pan. We have a banana plantation that we collect the grey water from the domes, and that goes in to the banana plantation. So really, it's suddenly become very successful. It's really exciting. We actually have seen it, and then we're building something called we're building orchards that are full of all different kinds of plants, all like papayas and oranges and bananas and all passion fruit. It's just amazing, and they're starting to work together to support each other to build a climate that when you go into that orchard, you actually feel it's a lot cooler than the area around. It's starting to be successful. We've got our first oranges, we've got amazingly delicious papayas, our passion fruit, and we've got our first 9 mangoes recently, and now I found we've got guavas, and we've got pomegranates. I mean, the pomegranates thrive where we are, so suddenly we've got vegetables and fruit that we can sell to the local community. We can feed ourselves and feed the primary school, the preschool program. So yeah, it's getting exciting, really. And now we've started putting beautiful trees and shrubs and stuff that actually, and hibiscus and flowers like that, and bougainvillea everywhere to make it beautiful. So yeah, it's that combination of everything. So we're making forest gardens.
Yeah, that was a surprise as well, how beautiful it's becoming, and it's going to be great to visit again in the future and see how that evolves.
Now, can I turn the table for a minute and ask you a question, Chris?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I know, and as Molly just reminded us, how we went to this primary school, the Global Angels supports with food, and it was quite a impactful visit, that one. And I know it was quite special for you, Chris, because I know you connected with a little girl there, and because obviously we all interacted with the kids, and there was some great sort of playing when they were out for their little break and everything. So tell me about that, what that meant for you.
Thank you. It was a really moving little moment for me, because I think it was beautiful seeing all these lovely school children, and only between the age of 4 and 6, so they're quite young. It was inspiring that Molly is her charity of feeding them breakfast and lunch. But I think some of us connected with with different kids, and we play games with them. And there was one little girl that really stuck in my mind because she seemed quite separate from the rest. And I just wondered about her. I'd heard Molly saying that some of their lives at home aren't great, and can be some issues with alcoholism and things like that in families. But I saw this little girl, and she was very detached. And we played Ring a Ring of Roses and various little games in circles, and the kids held hands, and I found myself next to this little girl, and she held my hand. But what really moved me was, even though she didn't look me really in the face, she continued to hold my hand once the game was over and for a few minutes afterwards. And I just felt a connection with her through the hand holding. I just thought, if you've got not a great life at home, I'd love to bring you home and give you a fantastic life, because it just really, really, really moved me. But the children are beautiful, and as they grow up as well, you realize that all these people have as big an intellect as you, but they just don't have the start that we have. So it's inspiring to see Global Angels helping some of them with that start, I guess. But yeah, just a little connection through holding fingertips. Just stuck with me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. So maybe I mentioned that you've all got a story that you take away from the trip yourselves. You just want maybe a moment that made a real difference for you. So maybe Hilary, do you have anything that you'd like to share?
Well, Chris, you've talked about the visit to the primary school, well, the sort of preschool with the sort of 4 to 6 year olds, and the wonderful feeding program that Global Angels supports, where the children get breakfast and lunch. And I spotted one little boy who had a big bowl of food in front of him, but he wasn't quite eating it. And I wondered if I might sit beside him and give him some spoonfuls. And it was such a joy to see that every time I offered a spoonful of this very nutritious lunch, he would eat it. And he must have packed away about 20 spoonfuls over the space of about half an hour. And it was just such a joy to sit beside that wee boy who had none of the advantages that we have here in the UK. Just very, very moving.
I have a very beautiful photograph of that moment to send you. Actually, it is it's quite special. How about you, Tessa? Anything for you?
For me, it was when we visited the villagers. I went into it thinking we're so different, and how will I communicate with them? Many of them speak Swahili, but they don't speak English, or maybe just their children do. And we met Christine, and she lived in such humble circumstances. I can't even describe for you how humble it is. Dirt floors. And she led us into her kitchen, which was essentially the size of an outhouse, and it just was a pan with some ashes and some wood, where she made dinner each night, and let us take a look at her life. And even though we didn't communicate in words so much, by the time we left, she gave me this huge hug, and I gave her this huge hug, as we were both human beings and mothers who were trying to provide for our families, and that we loved them. And I felt it coming from her, and I know she felt it coming from me. And that deep connection with someone who lives so differently from me will always stick with me. I felt a real kinship to her, and to the people in Africa who just are living so very different from the life that I'm living. The feeling won't leave me anytime soon.
Wow. How about you, Elisabet? Thank you.
It's really hard to pick. It's such an impactful journey that we've been on, that's going to be staying with us for life, I'm sure. So I find it really hard to pick, but I'm actually going to come back to the domes, because there's something about those domes and the way they've been built that really appeals to me, and I can't quite describe it. I'd love to build something like that somewhere else, because there's something. It's not just about, they look cool, they look like they could be on a film set or something, and I'm sure it might be at some point. Someone wants to come film there because they're so incredible. but they are so, even the touch of them, I don't know, it's hard to describe. They are so natural, they are so beautiful, they are so incredibly designed with the whole idea that even though it's hot, it's never above 22 degrees maybe inside or something. They're so cool the way the sort of the wind flows through, and absolutely incredible. I just didn't realize quite how you could build something like that so in such an inexpensive way, and still it being one of the most joyful places to stay in. Absolutely blown away.
It's just amazing because sometimes if there's a little wind, you walk past the ventilation holes as you go up the stairs, or just walk around a room and you feel this wind on you. It's as if a fan.
Incredible.
I know, it's amazing. I think one of the things that I loved in the dome was, because we'd all worked so hard to get them ready for our first guests. And one of the girls that came, I think she's 15, Rosie, and as she walked in, she says, I want my bedroom to look like this. I want this, I would love it. And that really touched me. It was very special. So, and then her sister, after seeing the Christine and the two other women we met, seeing their little wood burner, in their little tiny outhouse kitchen, with nothing in it, as she said, apart from the cooker, it was filled with smoke. And it was just like, it's so dangerous for these ladies cooking, where the smoke's in their eyes, it's going into their lungs. But they didn't have any money. If you're only earning such a small amount, you don't have any money to even better yourself. And we found out that there's these wood burning stoves that use 70% less wood, but they also 70% less, some of the figures might be wrong, I think 70% less smoke. And we found out they were like $50, $55 each, and to buy one. And this other one, Emily, she was just like, I want to buy two out of my own money to help these ladies. And that really touched me too. Just like that, it's like you could make a difference with such a small amount of money to someone's life. It's not taking them out of total poverty, but can you imagine not having your eyes burning every meal and you're getting it in your lungs? So that was extremely touching too.
Excellent.
Sure.
Thank you. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment, because you just brought something up for me. I'll share an experience for me. Was I took my 19-year-old son Matt with me, and you know what it's like with teenagers and parents. You can have these moments and times where you become a little bit less detached from each other, and maybe parents aren't particularly cool to be around and things like that. But what I would say is that having taken Matt along, I've realized that you can't tell children about life. You have to experience it for yourself. And I think through experiencing what he did, I would recommend to anyone, almost as a rite of passage, if you can, to take and you're able to afford to take your kids on an experience like this. Because what happened, I think I appreciated Matt more for his excellence in being able to communicate and connect with people, because he connected well with everybody, and I was really pleased and impressed with that. And he also we had some moments where I remember one evening he said to me, he said, "Dad, well done." I said, "What?" And Matthew never says well done to me, and he said, "Those people like you, really like you." It was like a shock horror. Somebody actually likes my dad. And then at the end of the trip, he also said, I said to him, "What was the best bit of the whole trip? What do you take away from it?" And he said, "Spending time with you." And I thought that was really amazing. And then he had another little moment that I'll just share which really impacted him. He came back one evening. He had some Apple AirPods that he got for his 18th birthday, and he was talking with one of Molly's team, and they said, could we try them? So he put the AirPods in their ears, and they were just blown away by the sound. And they said, "How much do they cost?" And Matt said, "I actually lied, Dad. I said £150, because I know there were more than that." And then he said, "I just felt so terrible, because what you could buy for £150 to help a family there is astonishing, and I feel really awkward and uncomfortable." So some lovely memories for him, a kind of almost a rite of passage, really. But I'm glad I took him. That's he also got the opportunity to meet all of you wise folks as well, because he came away, loved you all. He really did. I like everybody, he said. Moving on from that, Molly, you mentioned there about about these cookers. For example, we saw in a number of places people cooking in a little structure made of corrugated iron, absolutely full of smoke, can cause cancer, etc. What are some, what are some of the sums of money involved if people wanted to buy water tanks to help people? They wanted to buy cookers. What sort of things could people, would their money go towards to really help a family?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And one thing I just wanted to say again is that Global Angels has 100% promise. So the money, every penny that you give, we receive, goes literally to that item, or an item that you can touch and feel and account for. So in somewhere like Kenya, a little bit of money can make a huge difference, really can. So for example, planting trees, indigenous trees, for £5, or you might be able to do 10 trees. It's £50 or $55 for one of those cookers. It's £1,000 or $1,000 can build a 20,000 litre water storage tank that will last for 30 to 40 years out of earth bricks. A beehive, we've got lots of bees, and as you get more water and more trees and plants, you suddenly have got more bees. So a beehive can cost, you can buy them for £50, and we need another 20. When you're trying to close a gully, one of the things is using old tires to help make gabions. Each tire, when we can find them, is $1 each. And so 1,000 of those would fill quite a few gullies.
So what's a gabion? Sorry,
a gabion is like something that you put across a gully, so that as the water comes down, it slows down, and then the earth starts to fill up. Or you put the tires on the side of the gully to build a new wall, so the earth isn't just being taken away, and you can gradually regenerate the piece of land. We have a vision to do, I think Tessa said, but what about some of the bigger costs? And I'm like, well, a dome can cost 10 to 20,000 pounds. We built 3 big ones, and that's cost us 30,000 pounds, which is very good. If we bought a honey harvesting room with all the equipment, it might cost 5,000 pounds. So there's lots of things like that can make a big difference.
Yeah, and you have so things like the domes. What they do is they enable you to generate an income that goes straight back into doing more.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been some of the young guys that are working with us, 20 of them are going to be able to sit exams at the end of this year. They don't have any money to pay for the exams, but the exams are not very expensive. They might be $100. So little things like that. If Global Angel can be very specific and go, I want it to pay for that guy's schooling, to get his qualification, or I want it to go for a jerry can. $2 can buy a jerry can that someone can have water, 20 litres of water for the next how many years? So yeah.
Excellent. And just a final question for each of you I'd like to ask is, what does it mean to you to be part of a community like the Elevation Collective, where we have the opportunity for like-minded people to come together, not just to lead things, but to do good? I just love to hear your thoughts. Hilary.
Gosh, Chris, it's so hard to sum up in a few words the enormous value, not just as a businesswoman, but it's inspiring, it's insightful, it's extraordinarily good fun, and you're always getting the opportunity to learn and grow and contribute, whether it's your time, your energy. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And I've met some of the most extraordinary beings I've ever met in my life in the collective.
Thank you. Thank you. Tessa. Oh, we just lost Tessa, I think. She's suddenly frozen up on us. How about you, Elisabet?
Well, I echo what Hilary said for sure. And I think there's something about we always challenge and support each other at the same time. So we sort of, whenever we talk about something, it's meaningful, and we sort of really prompting each other to continue to discuss a topic or think deeper into something. So from that perspective, really challenging each other in a good way. So I always feel like I walk away just having grown in some kind of way, carrying something else with me, and just feel extremely grateful. Love it.
Thank you. Molly?
Yeah, I would say, I would add to all of that and say, by being part of the collective, I feel like I have a family, and like Chris's son and Rachel's children that we met, they're almost like they become, it's all family as well. And I just love that, how we can be there for each other. Particularly, I felt incredibly encouraged by the group and supported, through hard times, or when you're wanting to go, what do I do next for developing myself or my business? People have just come in and said, we'll help you, which is, wonderful. It's been tremendously beneficial for me.
Thank you. And Tessa, welcome back.
Hi. For me, Chris, it's easy. It's so much easier to do good in the world when you have other people that you can partner with, because doing it by myself, I want to be a good citizen in the world, but when I'm connected to other people, the exponential return on the good things we can do, and the way it magnifies and shows up in the world is so much bigger. So for me, it's just wonderful to have other like-minded people and be able to magnify our effort and our outcomes together.
Thank you. And from my own perspective, I think what I realize, and with this trip, is that I think the collective for me in creating it is, I realize I've created a friendship group which is just super special, with people with the similar values who get on with each other. We all get on beautifully, and we all seem to get on beautifully because we have similar values. We care about each other as much as we care about ourselves. So thank you so much for listening to the interview today. I want to just say, if you want to support Global Angels, please go to the globalangels.org. You can make a donation there if you want to. We've heard some of the things that money will be spent. 100% will go to helping people on the ground. But if you're an organization and you want to support Global Angels in a bigger way, contact Molly at globalangels.org and have a conversation with Molly about how you can help. We've been there, we've seen it. This is an organization, a foundation, a charity that needs support. He's doing great work out there. And also you have the opportunity to be able to visit it as well, which we can all assure you here is an amazing, life-changing experience. If you want to find anything about the Elevation Collective, you can contact me at chris@chriscooper.co.uk. Wish you all well. And next week we have Luke Ketterhagen on the show. And Luke is a master when it comes to yoga, meditation. He's done it all over the globe. And we're going to learn about that next week, and how to, in this chaotic, challenging world, how to calm ourselves down, get focused so we can really do good. A big thank you to Elisabet Vinberg Hearn, to Hilary, to Tessa, and Molly Bedingfield. You're all inspirations, and look forward to our continued conversations and where our journey will take us next. Take care, everybody. And please share this show with people if you can, because people need to know about this. There is good going on in the world out there right now. We need to share good news and a good narrative and forget all of that negative stuff. Let's